what I'm going to do today, let's have a little fun with this. What I want to have to do today is I want to weave together the Parshat Miketz with Hanukkah. And you're thinking, okay, how are we going to make those associations? They're so plain and pure, I couldn't help myself. And thank Hashem that I didn't come up with this myself. Great minds in Judaism came up with this a long time before. So bear with me as I sort of go through my notes and address this. This is the 10th weekly Torah reading, and that tells us the story, and if we've all heard it ad nauseum, the story of Yaakov and Joseph and his son Yaakov. He was sold into slavery. His brothers eventually rose to become the second most powerful man in the world, and in actually the known world at the time, Joseph. Now, according to Rambam, who obviously we all know very well, prominent medieval Jewish philosopher and Torah scholar, the events of Parshat Miketz are a reminder of the importance of righteousness and eventual rewards that come to those who maintain their integrity in the face of temptation and adversity. In his commentary on the Torah, the Rambam notes that Joseph's ability to resist the advances of Potiphar's wife and remain true to his values ultimately led to the rise to power and success in Egypt. This is exactly what Joseph was saying. That part and parcel of Joseph and his rise to stardom had to do with his ability to maintain his level of integrity and righteousness in the worst of circumstances, in the most dire situation. Rambam also highlights the theme of providence in the story of Joseph, emphasizing the idea that everything that happens in the world, including the hardships that we go through and the challenges of life, ultimately serve a divine purpose and serves to bring about a greater good, either within a society, a community, or the individual, him or herself. He writes that Joseph's journey began from being sold into slavery to becoming the leader of Egypt as part of the larger plan that God orchestrated. We heard this, we actually mentioned it, I may have been last night. The question was that part of the bigger plan? And obviously it was. So overall, the commentary of Miketz highlights the theme of righteousness. So write this down: integrity and providence, and serves a reminder that those who remain true to those values and trust in God will ultimately be rewarded. So I want you to think about these things: righteousness, integrity, and providence. The providence being we trust God for the situation that we're in. Joe has developed quite a Torah philosophy in his life as of late, recognizing the beauty of where he lives, even though Michigan is miserable. No, I don't want him to think I think it's miserable. But even though Michigan is cold and inhabitable, he loves being there. He likes being where God put him. And I love that. That's the thing about Joe. Oh, there he's back. I'm sorry. But Joe loves Michigan, and he loves where he's at, and he constantly reminds us, I'm satisfied where God has put me. Providence is important. So righteousness, integrity, and providence. And so as I begin to think, if there is a connection between Miketz and Hanukkah, what is it? And already you guys are probably thinking, I can see some stuff. So we're going to look at 8 life lessons that are learned from Hanukkah. Now, we know that there are 9 lights on the menorah, 8 are lit for each day of Hanukkah. And so we're going to sort of review the 8 lessons that are in that, and then that'll open up some more discussion in a moment. Number 1, the importance of religious freedom. Hanukkah is about the struggle of the Jewish people maintaining their religious traditions and practices in the face of persecution and oppression. It reminds us that the importance of being able to freely express and practice our belief without fear of persecution is of the most important manner. Even in the state of Israel to this day, there is freedom of worship that people can clearly. I'm getting some background noise somewhere. I don't know. That, that there is freedom of religion even in the state of Israel, and obviously in this country as well. There have been those who would like to probably change that nuance, but this is a wonderful country to be in. But preserving your religious freedom has everything to do with, for example, what Joseph did, and that was he maintained his righteousness. Righteousness is maintained by your ability to do mitzvahs, to connect to Hashem, to be able to meditate, to be able to have your choice to follow God. Second thing, the second lesson that we learn is the power of faith and determination. Joseph is the epitome of these two elements, faith and determination. The story of Hanukkah shows us, and the story of Miketz shows us that even in the face of overwhelming odds, faith and determination can help us overcome challenges and achieve our goals. When Joseph was in prison, we really don't hear him complaining. We see him succeeding. It seems like that wherever he went, he flourished. Whatever ground he was put in, he grew. I'm reminded, you guys probably don't remember because y'all had a good upbringing and probably wouldn't watch this TV show, but there was a show with Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder who end up going to prison. Do you guys remember this? Right? And they're thrown in that prison, and the warden wanted one of them, or if not both of them, to participate in the rodeo, which would surely get them hurt or killed. And so they're trying to find ways to not do it. And he's going to break them, right? And he puts them in this dark hole in the box underneath the ground. And I think it's Gene Wilder's in there, and it's just hot. And you can almost feel the heat from the cinematography in the movie. And finally they come out and they beat on the door, the warden, and he's like, "Are you ready to come out of there?" And he's like taunting him, and he goes, "Oh, this is so relaxing. Could I just get a few more days in here, please?" So it was so ridiculous that's what made it hilarious. But the point is Joseph had sort of that tenacity to say, look, my faith and determination is all I need here. That's all I need. And it doesn't mean that we don't need to have dreams for a future. But man, your faith, the power of your faith and determination is so important. Third, before we move on to the third one, which if you want to write it down, the third one is the importance of community. Let's see, where did I drop off? The determination. Okay, here we go. Let's go to the next one. Let's talk about the value of perseverance. This is really important. We mentioned determination and faith, but the third thing is the value of perseverance. Hanukkah illustrates the importance of perseverance. It teaches us to keep going on even when things seem to be impossible and out of our control. I think one of the best things that can ever happen to us as growing and maturing adults is to actually have that, that epiphany, or that not epiphany, that time in your life in which you're challenged at the worst level and you rise above it and you're able to say, I'm going to keep my sanity. I'm going to respond to this properly and logically, and I'm not going to let this destroy me. It's an incredible gift that every person, if they develop it early, it can help them in life, period. It's so important to understand it. Perseverance is the quality of continuing to do something despite the challenges, the setbacks, and the obstacles. The perseverance that Joseph had was, okay, I'm going to persevere and resist the challenge of Potiphar's wife, and I'll do a good job, and I won't say anything to try to destroy her, et cetera, et cetera. And then we find he's in jail. And then the perseverance of Yaakov in jail just continues to do and to what do you call it? Send him to a whole nother level. Let's look at how we go through these things. There are a few little life lessons we get and perseverance. Number one, we need to, when we're going through the most difficult time of our life, and we see this with Joseph, that when you're going through it, do what you can to survive. Do everything you can to survive, and you need to set clear goals. So when you are living in these obstacles and challenges, and you need to persevere, and it's going to be like the thought of where it's going to be in 10 days, 60 days, 100 days, a year and a half. Don't even think down the road. What's the favorite saying that we often say to each other? One day at a time. I'm just going to wake up today and start my day and end it tonight when I go to bed. I remember hearing this famous actor was talking about his dad, and his dad had struggled with narcotics abuse most of this actor's life, and he asked his dad, "Hey, how are you doing on your sobriety?" And he says, because it's been like 3 years or 4 years. He goes, "Do you think you'll ever go back and fail?" And he goes, "Well, I'm sure I will, but I'm going to always maintain sobriety." Like, he admitted it's possible to always go back, but I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And so I will be sober one day at a time. That's how to do it. I'm not even going to think about if I'm going to fail. I just want to make it through this day. And I think in perseverance, and we've all learned this, let's just make it through the day. Just make it through the day and see what happens. So we need to make specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound sort of marks that say, well, I can make it through this. So let me just repeat that. To set your goals clear, they need to be specific, measurable, achievable, and relevant. Don't try to conquer the world. Just get through that time of the most difficult. This is how you persevere. The second thing, which is probably just as important as the first, learn to take a break. It's important to give yourself breaks and rest when you need it. Take breaks. You can help to recharge your batteries and come back on your task and renew your energy and focus. This was the hardest lesson for me to learn in my life. The hardest. It took me all the way up to probably 2 years ago. 2 years ago. I'm almost 60 years old. 2 years ago, I just figured out it's all right to take a break. It's all right to go, okay, I'm going to take a nap. I'm sorry. I'm not going to deal with this right now. I need the energy. I think sometimes we feel like, no, I'm not persevering if I'm not standing in the window, looking over the horizon, waiting for the white horses to come bounding over the dell, right? No, perseverance means if I'm going to make it through the next 24, 48 hours, whatever it may be, I need to not only have my goals clear, but I need to know when it's time to take a break, when it's time to rest. In the military, in the special operations community, they call it taking a knee. It's a term when your commander says, take a knee, boom, you get down on one knee, and that helps to bring focus. They have like code talk that these operators, when they come home from a mission, they can go to their commander or their sergeant major and say, I need to take a knee. I mean, look, these guys are probably the most persevering human beings in the United States or in the world that are special operators. And they understand the value of taking a knee. It's all right. Take a break. Reward yourself. Make sure that you do that to be able to have the stamina to continue on. The next one is stay positive. Remain positive is so important. You can help keep yourself motivated by being positive. Keep going even when things get tough and hard. Focus on what progress you have made so far. Even though it may not be over, keep focused on the progress so far. Remind yourself of the reasons why you're pursuing your goal. And let me just pause there. This is really important. Remind yourself the reasons why you're pursuing your goal. Now, if you were materialistic, your goal might be, I want to have 100,000 a month in income, right? It might be, I want to achieve this great triathlon, or I want to be able to cycle 26 miles in a limited in some period of time. But this idea to remind yourself of the reason why you're pursuing your goal needs to be at the highest level of consciousness. Now, let me explain. How many times have we felt absolute relief, even in the most difficult times, because we reminded ourselves we put ourselves in this situation? We asked the master of the universe to put us in this life, to have these challenges. My goal and your goal is to pursue the highest level of wisdom and understanding that we can get by having this extremely pure divine essence inside of a rotting corpse that starts dying when you're born. And you're reminding yourself, I am in this situation. It's not fun. It's not happy, but it will deliver me to my goal. And that's a liberator. If you could raise your children helping to understand the difficulties that come in your life are not meant to destroy you, but to help you pursue your goal, then at that point, it's only for you to endure, only for you to have the patience to do it. The next thing that goes in line with perseverance and to be able to secure perseverance is to seek support. Obviously, surround yourself with supportive people. Very important. If you can't find people in your immediate family for support, you need to reach out to friends, etc. This is why this community is so important. We are a support group with each other, and not all of our family members are following this path, and it makes it difficult. And it's important for us to bounce things off of each other. I would like to remind those people who watch this video, listen to the podcast later on, that if you are a Noahide, righteous person somewhere in the world, your family isn't that way, and if you told them that you were this way and that you were studying, you would probably experience the worst rejection. Don't do anything to create more havoc in your life. However, it's important to come to class. It's important to be here and to see other people and to interact. Before class, we get to pick on each other. After class, we get to question each other. And it's a great environment to be in. We don't take ourselves too serious, but we are serious about serving Hashem. So support is important. Next, practice resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity and to keep on going. Be resilient. Practice resilience by learning from your setbacks and mistakes. Of course, we're all older, and hopefully, God willing, we've all learned how to do this in fine fashion. We just realized we made mistakes. My wife mentioned somebody the other day, young people, and said something like, "Oh, wow, this is a big, horrible mistake that they're making in their life." And I went, "Yes." And she goes, "I wish there was something we could do." And I went, "There's not a thing we can do. They have to make that mistake." It's like, if you go try to fix it or to change it, then you understand that there are some people, their disposition, they're not ready for you to tell them how to get out of the situation. They have to learn the hard way. And that's the whole point. Next, celebrate your progress. We talked about this earlier. Recognize and celebrate what is working and what isn't working. You just move on. Next, just the idea of perseverance is just to stay strong. It requires setting the clear goals, taking breaks, staying positive, seeking support, practicing resilience, and celebrating your progress. By following these little tips, you're going to be able to persevere in just about any situation. Now, let's look at the next few things on the 8 lessons we learned. Second, going hand in hand with that is the importance of community. Hanukkah is a story in the celebration of unity and strength in the Jewish people. It reminds us the value of coming together as a community and supporting one another. What was one of the most important elements of the story of Miketz is when Yosef is reunited with his brothers. The community, the healing that took place around that table is an amazing story. Every time I read the story, I can feel the emotions, the emotionally charged situation, and how Joseph felt, and then how his brothers felt when he revealed himself. Ani Yosef, what a powerful moment. So community, very important. Next, we learn something very powerful from both Miketz and Hanukkah, is that we need to stand up for what we believe. It's important. This Hanukkah this year, we go through it, and there's a lot of convoluted ideas that are in the world. There are so many mistruths in the world. There's so much ignorant propaganda that's spread in the world, from you name it, from junk science to bad history. We're told biologically, man's a woman can be a man can have a child, whatever. A man can menstruate. It's like they are twisting all these things upside down. And it's time, if we want to maintain our perseverance, our integrity, we've got to stand up for what is right. It doesn't mean I have to go protest in front of some establishment I disagree with, but it's time that we stand up and say, this is not right. There's something wrong about this. There's something not right about this concept. The next one is the power of hope and optimism. I don't think that any one of us can comprehend to the level that existed at the time of the temple being destroyed and to watch that happen. Like, just the thought of us in this country, in the United States, thinking about our government crumbling, our societies of justice and commerce, everything being completely flipped on its head, how horrible that would be. And yet they maintained enough hope and optimism to even find the smallest miracle. Think about it. We talk about this oil lasting for 8 days. Well, if you want to talk a real miracle, how about the miracle of the temple not getting destroyed? Right? But instead, that small miracle, the oil, became grand. Why? Because of their hope and optimism. Rabbi Nachman, which we dearly love in this community, he says one of the most famous quotes about optimism in this song, and you guys all remember the song probably, I've heard it, Rabbi Greenbaum sang it before, "The whole world is a narrow bridge." Y'all remember that? It's a statement that is made, that he makes. The whole world is a narrow bridge. This quote suggests life is full of challenges and difficult situations, but the key to overcoming them is to have faith and not have fear hold us back. Rabbi Nachman reminds us the importance of maintaining a positive outlook and cultivating joy and happiness in life. He talks over and over the power of having joy in serving Hashem, about maintaining your wisdom by having joy. He believed that it was essential for living a fulfilling and meaningful life, and that it could even have transformative effects in the world around us by maintaining a positive outlook. Obviously, we know that that is true. He said, "It is a great mitzvah to always be happy, for it is written, serve God with joy." Psalm 100, verse 2. Incredible verse. If we mark that down somewhere in our house, on the refrigerator, to remind ourselves to serve God with joy is so very important. We all get sort of stuck in the root, right? We all get stuck down in the trench, and sometimes we forget we need to lift our head up and have joy about it. Now, overall, Rabbi Nachman's teaching on optimism and joy encourages us to approach life with hope and positivity, and to believe and to even believe in the face of challenges, and have difficult circumstances that doesn't turn us around. It is possible to find joy and meaning. I think it is. Is it? I'm trying to think. What is it? Let me see this. Yeah, it's Dennis Prager has a book that is real good that he calls that we all have a moral obligation to be happy. Happiness we think is just limited to an emotion, but happiness is a disposition. And so is, according to Rabbi Nachman, this idea that optimism is a part of being happy. Joy is a part of being happy. We have an obligation to do that. Why? Because that means that we're serving God with joy as long as we maintain that kind of happiness. Last but not least, the importance of tradition. I think that was number 7, correct, guys? No, then we've got one more. I'm sorry. The importance of tradition. This is one of the things that I have a problem with in our sort of Noahide world. And that is, we're told to come into from leaving religion to come to being a Noahide or a righteous person, and to say, welcome to being a Noahide, but don't have any traditions. That's what it seems like. You understand what I'm saying? It's kind of the message you get, like, oh, it's great you're here, but don't follow any of the traditions. Well, tradition plays a central role for the, what do you call it, the cohesion of a society, of a group. And I think it's important that in the days and months and years to come, that Noahides will be able to develop its own observances that are about the Jewish traditions. We're not talking about reinventing new traditions, okay? That's not what I'm saying. But having Jewish traditions defined better so that Noahides would know how to approach these certain things. Traditions are important. Let me see. Let's cover the last one. The value of self-sacrifice is number 8. The Hanukkah story is about the Maccabees' willingness to risk their lives in order to defeat their enemies and to defend their faith and protect their community. It teaches us the value of self-sacrifice and the importance of putting needs of others before our own. This has been just a personal mantra of myself for my entire life, especially coming out of the military, that you always prefer others above yourself. It's just a characteristic I think it's noble to have. And when I say a value of self-sacrifice, we're not talking about, oh, poor me, I've sacrificed myself above you. It's not that at all. It means you are always looking out for the other person's benefit and to their good practices. And it takes a little work to do that. I mean, you have an attitude of self-sacrifice. Joseph was willing to stand up and speak to Pharaoh these interpretations of dreams, and also demonstrate how much he knows language like a Pharaoh, except for one, right? He knew all the languages. He was willing to stand up there to do that, to bring salvation to his family. I mean, look, standing before Pharaoh, who one wrong word, one misconception, your head could be cut off. Or as it says in the biblical, your head lifted up, right? That could happen. But he had such a strong value of self-sacrifice that he knew that this was important for him to do. And even as bold as he was to say, well, no one's going to get grain from me unless they're circumcised. I mean, think about how bold that is for Joseph to step up and to say that. He is literally was turning out and attempting to make the world righteous through this whole famine. Unfortunately, the only thing that he made righteous was the Jewish people and some of the Egyptians that were there. That, let me see. Let's see, self-sacrifice. There was one example I was going to give, and now I can't remember it. But we'll go ahead and end it there. So let's go back. We'll start the last to the first. The last would be the value of self-sacrifice, the importance of tradition, the power of hope and optimism, the need to stand up for what we believe, the importance of community, the value of perseverance, the power of determination, and the importance of our religious liberties. These are 8 lessons that we've learned from Hanukkah and the story of Miketz. So I hope you don't mind the tapestry I've woven or I've wove. What's the word? Help me here, my English majors. Tapestry I have wove? No. Woven, wobbled.
I think woven is the word. I think you had it right.
It just didn't sound right. Of course, that's my brain. I'll say things that doesn't sound right. Okay, guys, let's open up the floor. Who will be the first to comment, to chat, to whatever questions you have? It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be on this particular one.